I don't see a lot of, Ben Franklin's and, that are going to be sitting in a constitutional convention coming up with, the greatest document on earth. That's the problem.
No John Adams.
Yeah, there's no John Adams, there's no Thomas Jefferson there. They're not there. And so, I think that's the issue, and that's the leadership issue, and that's why people are concerned, okay, we don't have people that we can necessarily trust to do this. How do we select them? How do we elect, or elect them or appoint them? There's different proposals that are out there. And, I don't think it solves the problem. The problem is leadership, and if we don't have it now, I'm not sure we're going to have it in a constitutional convention.
Well, you might remember that Britain has gone for centuries without a constitution. But what do they have? Well, they pass laws from time to time, and that's our state constitution is really just, in large part, a body of laws that have been enacted through direct democracy or through other mechanisms. I don't think that by itself is the key to our problems. Almost any reform that has been put on the table, whether it's two-thirds votes or redistricting or term limits or any of those things, they got there by either simple initiatives or somebody passed a ballot proposition or whatever, and they can be changed that way too. So if those are the things that you want to change, you don't need a constitutional convention to do it. You can do it step by step, or even put a collection of these reforms on the ballot at one time.
Absolutely.
Well, my organization, the William C. Velasquez Institute, is really exploring the concept of the Constitutional Convention. We are a Latino civil rights policy think tank, and the Latino community in California, is going to be the fastest one of the fastest growing communities in the state, and we certainly have a vested interest in making sure we have a state in 10, 20 years down the line. And so it's something we're really exploring.
But why do we need a constitutional convention? I mean, I think that's the question. What I hear is that these guys are saying it's not the Constitution that's the problem. If you want to change a law, change it.
I don't necessarily discount the notion of the initiative fix. I just don't believe that they'll pass. I have no problem exploring two parallel tracks: initiative, fixing small things here, and exploring the potential of a constitutional convention.
But a convention has to go in front of the voters too.
It does, and it has to go in front of the voters twice. One, to call the question, and then two, after whatever the delegates, however it's structured, whatever they come up with, then it has to be approved.
So why can't the people be trusted to go ahead and fix the individual problems that we see? Like, you didn't like the fix, but voters saw the problem with redistricting and fixed it.
I'll tell you why. Here's the challenge, Dave, of a constitutional convention. And it is potentially a challenge that can be overcome. We'll see as Stephen and his allies move forward. Is right now everyone sees in it exactly what they want to see. Mm-hmm. If you back up a second and look at some of the rest of the discussion we've had, we talked a little bit earlier about the initiative process. Well, if you think that same-sex marriage should be illegal in California, right now you are a strong supporter of the initiative process. If you believe that a certain amount of money ought to be guaranteed to our public schools, you are a strong supporter of the initiative process. The time that people oppose the initiative process is right after they lose initiatives. We talked earlier. We talked briefly about the two-thirds vote for budget passage. Mm-hmm. Well, I've noticed that people who support two-thirds majorities tend to be in the minority because they want some say in the matter. And just like Republicans in the California state legislature want a two-thirds requirement to pass a budget because it gives them a voice, the same way Democrats in the 1990s fought against the so-called nuclear option that would have allowed federal judges to be confirmed by a simple majority. If you're in the majority, you hate it two-thirds. If you're in the minority, you like it, so it's situational. The allure of a constitutional convention right now is that everyone can read into it exactly what they want to. If one person wants to call a constitutional convention in order to repeal Prop 8. Someone else wants to call a constitutional convention to codify Prop 8. Now, the organizers of the convention, or the supporters of it, have, in fairness, said that they would exclude these types of social issues. But when you get into...
again, for those who just don't remember,
the same-sex
marriage initiative.
But even if you limit the discussion, as they have proposed to issues of governance and politics and budgeting, well, if you are a liberal, you want Prop 13 to be part of that conversation. If you are a conservative, you don't. If you are a conservative, you want state employee pensions to be part of the discussion. If you are a liberal, you don't. And so right now, the challenge for the organizers of the Constitutional Convention is everybody sees in this exactly what they want to. And the real challenge is not with the first of the two initiatives that Steve mentioned, because in abstract, most people, not everyone, but most people think, yes, let's bring Ben Franklin and John Adams and the others together and fix California. The real challenge will be when something comes out of it, and it's not just an abstract ideal, it's the same tangible debate that we have in the state legislature, and that we have in gubernatorial campaigns, and that we have on the initiative ballot.
So the only problem is when you get down to the actual details of what we're going to be changing and what comes out. And what Dan's saying is right now, now it's everything to everyone at the beginning. But
right now, it's a new discussion. And the difference between the initiative process versus a convention process is the initiative system process is faster. The convention system, in what I would feel would be the right way, is you need to spend a lot of time educating the public, which is why I appreciate you having me on your show, to first putting the idea in front of Californians, starting to think about it. It's new to everyone, and you're right. It's like, oh, there's a lot of one-issue people and activists out there on all sides. This is the great fix. You know, those we have to. That's kind of the start of the enthusiasm. But then we do have to sit down and what is the nitty-gritty? There are two real broad questions when you're talking about the Constitutional Convention. One is the delegate selection process. How many delegates? Who are the delegates?
Right.
How are they selected?
Yeah.
And what are the rules that they're going to be governing under, Robert's Rule of Order, etc. And the second question, what is going to be the scope? What are they going to be allowed to talk about? Is everything on the table, everything under the sun?
Yeah.
Are we going to limit it to certain areas? Those are two broad questions, and there is no right answer at the moment. And this is why the William C. Velasquez Institute and its allies are promoting a series of town halls throughout Southern California. They started having them in the Bay Area, but we want to have them here because, one, we want to put the idea forth in front of Californians, one, to put it in their consciousness, and two, start getting a little bit of feedback. The only way a convention, in our opinion, works is if it's done in a respectful way where everyone feels at least they've had a say in it, a fair say, and if it's done too fast, you're right, it'll fail, because you need to bring everyone on board and at least have everyone have what they feel is a fair, transparent mechanism, and that it respects California's diversity.
It seems to me that the advantage of a constitutional convention would be that instead of doing it piecemeal, one little piece, is that you, in theory at least, you could come up with a big picture solution where all the pieces are put together in a coherent fashion, so that it's not just amending the Constitution 400 times, over the last 50 or 100 years. The difficulty, as you pointed out, is who's going to be at this convention, because the charge will either be that you have average citizens like a jury pool who don't really know anything, and I don't mean this in a negative way toward anyone, but let's face it, they can easily be snookered or misled or moved in one direction or another by special interests who will pounce on this group, or you have political leaders who the public will see they have an agenda. So they're not just objective people who are necessarily looking for the most fair and best solution for everyone.
Dave, can I ask Steve a quick question?
Sure.
Stephen, I'll start this by saying I think what you guys do at the Velasquez Institute is extraordinary work, and it's important work, in providing a voice for a community that hasn't been represented to the degree that it should is to your credit. As Dave said, the proposal on the table, at least for the Constitutional Convention, is that there would be 400 people statewide who would be selected randomly through a process very similar to the way a grand jury is selected. If just by sheer luck of the draw, those 400 people ended up being disproportionately Asian American and Caucasian, would that cause some discomfort for you and your colleagues?